Hello, everybody. It looks like we have gone live today for SmartTake. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Really excited about jumping into today's HubSpot updates. Brian, I'm excited you're here. We got some cool updates to dig into some from inbound, some from even more recent than inbound. So really excited you're here today, and that we could be diving into this.
I'm pumped. I'm excited to dive in on a couple of these topics. A couple of things are not review, but enhancements of some things we've talked about before, which I love. It shows the pace of product innovation at HubSpot and how some of the things that even we launched at inbound, we're getting further and deeper into. And I think that's also helpful to get our take in terms of what are the important things to focus on now. So excited to dive in. Thanks for having me once again.
Awesome. And if you are listening in today, you're at SmartTake. SmartTake's the #1 monthly series for learning the most essential HubSpot product updates. So we're going to walk through today 5 updates that launched over the course of the last month, which you are going to be able to see more in depth about what is HubSpot actually launching and how do these updates work, and who actually gets access to them. So let's jump into the first updates for today. What we're going to be going through are updates. We're going to talk about updates that are in specific hubs. So first off, let's look at some of the first updates in Sales Hub. So one of the updates in Sales Hub is leads are now a standard CRM object. And what does this actually mean? A couple of years ago, HubSpot launched the leads object. And what the leads object essentially does is allows you to create almost a pre-deal opportunity on a contact or on a company record. And why this is important is because when you're thinking about keeping your database clean, you might talk to a prospect multiple times in the sales process. You may speak to them, they may come in, fill out a form, you have a discussion with them, and there could be a commercially viable opportunity there. From there, maybe the contact, other priorities come up, they go dark. Maybe you don't talk to them for 6 months, a year, 2 years later. Well, if you think about that, that opportunity of that talking to that prospect for the first time, companies have been able to use that as a lead. And over a period of time, those leads are useful to be able to track, so you can see how many commercially viable opportunities have possibly been able to conduct with this company or contact. And so essentially what the update for now is the lead, more advanced functionality within the leads object. And this is really useful. If you're doing automation within this, you're going to want to be able to, maybe you want to send out automated emails, or you want to update properties on the lead record itself. And historically, the lead object has been a little bit limited on some of the type of functionality. And so now you're able to do that. I will also add on this that some companies where they have a very simple sales process, maybe it's a really quick sales process, maybe it's to sell like a one-off product, they may not even want to use the leads object at all. And I would say this is the other update that's a part of this, is that HubSpot's launching the ability to turn the leads object off altogether. So you're just using contacts, companies, deals, tickets, etc. So this could be a way to simplify it as well. So I like this in both regards. It's like if you want to take more advanced functionality of leads, you can do that. Or if it's adds too much complexity and noise to your CRM, you can shut it.
I think it's a fair call out. I think there's a couple folks who I've spoken to when this launched. They're like, oh, well, this is the same as Salesforce, and you have a lead and a contact, and those are 2 separate objects. Now, HubSpot launched the leads object, and it was kind of a second-class object. It wasn't a standalone, and that made it dependent and also made it limited for folks who did have a process pre-built that they really liked. Maybe it wasn't Salesforce, and maybe it was separate in terms of how they track, how they develop pipeline. And I think that this does what maybe needed to happen before, but it gets to the point where now as a standalone, this can actually work in things like workflows. It can work better in things like reports. It gives you more autonomy and more flexibility. So for folks who are already in on this, know that it's a CRM object and now you can do all those things maybe you wanted to do. And for folks who weren't really in on the leads object already, you can ignore it. Or you can use this as an excuse to dive in and see if it's valuable to you. But if there isn't something that's missing already in your contacts objects and how you manage through life cycle stages, this may not be as impactful, but I think it is impactful for the folks who know that this is a stage or an object that's been missing. And I really appreciate this call out and just this update from the product team. So thanks, Paul.
Awesome. Well, let's jump next to Pathfinder and customer journey analytics. Customer journey analytics, this is what really excites me. I'm kind of an analytics geek on this. And so why I think this is really interesting is customer journey analytics launched, I want to say, in the last couple of years as well. And really, customer journey analytics helps you understand, what is the flow of a contact that originally maybe saw your Google ad, came to your website, filled out a form, eventually became a customer of yours. Like, what was that path? How many people went down that very specific path? And one of the challenges that HubSpot customers face is that they had to sort of define what that path was. Like, create hypotheses around, I think my contacts are seeing this ad, then they're coming to this page, and then going in and then filling out the form. And like that's useful if like you've got some analytics, you maybe have some insight on where people are coming in from. But if you don't have any insight on that, it can be kind of challenging. And that's where Pathfinder customer journey analytics comes into play. I'm going to give us a quick little demo of this. And essentially what Pathfinder does is it uses AI to help us understand what are some of those paths that people took that helps you tell that story without you having to kind of figure it out yourself. So how we actually get to this, we'll go into our report builder. You'll see our different reports on here, and you'll click on customer journey report. Once you're in customer journey report, you'll see this button where it says start with contact Pathfinder. And right now we can only do this on contact records. We can't do it for other types of records at the moment. And what you're going to do is define what is that first stage. And we're going to say what the first stage is: a form submission. And the first stage, essentially, what we want to do with that is we want to understand what are the top paths that people took before they hit that specific stage. And so that's useful. So if you want to understand what ads people clicked, what pages people visited, what CTAs people clicked, what blogs people read, things like that, this will help you do that. Vice versa, you can also configure it to understand the top paths after somebody hit a specific stage. Let's say another stage could be a page visit. You have a very high impact page or important page on your website. You want to understand, what do people do after they reach that page? That's where that option comes into place. And so what I'll show you, this is just a quick example of people coming and filling out our contact us form on our website. It'll show you, how many people essentially, like what are the different paths that people came through. What I really like about it is this visual. You can hover over this to understand where people came in, and it gives you some nice reporting. You can kind of drill down into the individual contacts on there to understand what page they originally come in from, what other pages did they hit before they hit our contact us form. And then from there, you can kind of drill into those individuals. From here, I think it's really useful as a marketer to understand what are those segments within these paths that maybe show us the types of contacts that converted at the highest rate, or that they converted the quickest. And so I like to kind of look at this and see which of these segments now is most valuable for me. From there, you go in and optimize further to really just try to hone in, pour gasoline on that specific segment to drive more of those types of visitors to your website. So there's a lot more that could be done here. Could probably do a whole webinar on just the new Pathfinder customer journey analytics, but I feel like there's just a lot more value that customers are getting out of this now.
I think it's huge. It makes the unknown known and gives you way more ability to understand what's working, what's not, prove your value from a marketing standpoint, and get into a granular level in terms of how you can tweak or improve or iterate over time. And I think in the past, so much of marketing is kind of educated guess and check. Now you can actually get much better insight actually kind of brought to you. And that's where I feel like HubSpot's ease of use and the features like this is really in the spirit of what HubSpot brings to the market. And that's super exciting. So thanks for walking us through that, Paul. I haven't gone so far into the hood on that myself yet. So it was good. It was a good teaser for me and a good prompt for me to dig into it next.
Yep. And this one's on both Sales and Service Hub Enterprise, and it's live today. So next, we're going to pass over to Brian.
There's not one decision maker. There's not one person ultimately who signs off. buying committees have become a really important part of selling and going wide and having more saturation within your prospect account in order to understand who the stakeholders are who need to be influenced in order for a purchasing decision to happen for your product or service. Additionally, there's also the opportunity for expansion and growth into other departments. If we're thinking about HubSpot, for example, we sell marketing, sales, customer service tools. Your business may sell multiple products to multiple different stakeholders. So having an understanding of who all those people are, who are the key constituents that you need to be involved in and influence, having that mapped for a salesperson is, first of all, really important so that they understand who they need to go after. Now, the next bit that's really cool is understanding how many touches they've had or what type of activity is happening. So let me dive in and show you a quick look at how buying groups has become a really strong value add for sales reps using this new beta functionality. And I'll give you a little bit of background as well. HubSpot had a company that did a really good job of building this called Org Chart Hub. And these folks were acquired by HubSpot, rebuilt the functionality inside of our tool. So just want to highlight that this is really proven. This is not just fresh and new. So it can be added to a company record. It can be added to the center pane, or it can be added to the right-hand pane. So there's two different visuals. There's one that gives you kind of the summary on the right. It gives you the full visual on the left. You can click in to open the interactive buying group here. Now, this is one that's already been set up. There's a step that was missed in this demo that I don't have access to, but I can just give you a heads up. You can add it manually, so you can start from scratch. And you can go and click into all the contacts that you have in your database right now for a particular company and add them to this map and give them roles. Or you can let AI search for it. They can go in and look at all of your contacts and then splat, map it on here. There's one more that's really cool is the ability to create a template. So if there are particular types of people and roles you know your product and service needs to get in front of in order to make a successful sale, you can create that template. You can set those titles in a map that has empty open space, and you can apply that template to your existing contacts in your CRM. It will search for job roles and it'll add those folks. It'll show you who's missing. So if you know procurement person is part of it, you don't know who that procurement person is, you can have a placeholder there in the meantime. So you're going to end up with a map like this. We can see the CEO, we can see the CMO, the VP of sales, the CTO, and different managers and people who are influencers or champions. So you can go ahead and put all of those folks on there. Now, the next bit, which is super valuable, which I alluded to quickly, is the activity heat map. So what we want to be able to understand is not just who are all these people, but based on the data inside your HubSpot CRM, emails, calls, tasks, communications, you can look at sales activity and see a concentration. You can drag that slider bar to see over the past 6 months or over the past year or over the past week, who are you most active with? And maybe who's missing. You can see in the middle, the VP of sales is missing, but you have sales activity with all these other folks. You can also toggle that heat map to just look at marketing activity. So you can see, ooh, that VP of sales is getting a lot of our marketing, but let's say they're not really getting as much of our sales communication. So there's probably a gap there that we need to go and engage that person on the sales front, or that other folks aren't getting the same marketing communications. And so maybe there's an opportunity there. This is highly insightful for a sales rep to be able to understand what is the saturation. You can make assumptions. Oh, I've been talking to that company for so long, but there are probably people in there who don't know who you are yet. This can help give you and shine the light for you and your manager, give you that insight into who you need to be approaching further. All right. I love the activity heat map, but the other bit is really just making sure that you have all the relationships mapped. So you can change the colors that are associated with these, and the colors are based on the buying role property in HubSpot. So if you're using that already, it'll pre-populate. And if you're not, you can go ahead and add different buying roles. So it can be budget holder, you can be champion, to be able to understand a map of who are the people and what role are they playing. Is someone a blocker? You can ultimately change the color so you can have a high level visual. And what's really cool is when you make a change in this interface, it also changes that contact record. So you're on the company record on this pop-out view, and it'll change the contact property when you make a change in here. So you don't have to, it syncs all the way across. I think that's really important to call out. And the last bit is the ability to add relationship, more to the relationship diagram than just their org chart. You can add relationship lines, add additional detail to that. And then you can also toggle additional people to be able to not only just set their buying role, but what the relationship is in terms of manager, in terms of employee. You can add additional folks to the map, and you can drag and drop folks around that screen. So wanted to highlight how sales reps need to engage a larger group of individuals and to make a successful sale, the insight that they can gather from buying groups, not just in terms of the structure, but also the activity and the buying roles of these individuals, will help folks to have a more strategic approach to how they engage that full buying committee. I'm super excited about this because as a seller at HubSpot, I could have used this internally a long time ago. And I've done this on spreadsheets and maps and visual diagrams in the past. So I'm really excited that we're bringing that to customers inside of HubSpot.
That's a great demo, Brian. And I think that we've worked with so many clients that take the ABM go-to-market approach where they're not just looking at individual contacts, they're looking at accounts and companies. And when you look at more upmarket clients where they've got really high transactional costs for these, you're going to have a lot of people making decisions. And I think that this is such a win for HubSpot and being able to bring that whole ABM experience in HubSpot. I love the heat map too. I think that just like the ability to see that sort of overlap of saying, yeah, we're getting in front of the marketer, but we haven't even had one outreach or one ad touch any of the salespeople. So I think that really shows where those gaps lie, where there's sort of that overlap of where we're folks that we're able to get in touch with versus not. So really love some of those new features, some of those additions that help us really figure out who we need to be getting in touch with in our target accounts. So jumping back in to the slides here, we're going to look next at a couple of other features, and then we're going to wrap for today. So specifically, let's jump into Customer Agent. The Customer Agent, this is your AI, essentially your AI-powered chatbot that HubSpot that you have within Pro or Enterprise, any SKU. I mean, you can use Customer Agent for customer service issues, but we have many clients that we personally are using for sales and BDR type of use cases. You could also use it for marketing, but in any case, Customer Agent, essentially what the update is for this month, there's some advancements on helping improve the outputs that you're getting from your Customer Agent. When you start to use Customer Agent, your Customer Agent essentially trains on your website, your knowledge base, your tickets, any information you have inside of HubSpot. But you may have a lot of information that's buried within your internal documents, spreadsheets, things that are in your own, let's say you use Google Drive or another Drive format. And Customer Agent is not training on some of that kind of information. And unfortunately, it's not able to then provide the type of info that your prospects may be asking for when they come to your website. And so essentially what Customer Agent does is it quickly helps surface what are the types of questions that HubSpot doesn't have an answer for. I think this is so useful because if you really want your AI-powered chatbot to be your most effective salesperson or support person, you need to make sure that it knows everything about your organization. And I really like the recommended short answers because it shows you right in that middle area, here's a question that we got. We don't really know what the answer is for this. Please help us fill in what this gap is. And from there, it's really easy for you to go click in and say, okay, here's the information that you need to know. So the next time this question comes up, the AI-powered chatbot is using that kind of information. So it's a small update, but been quite impactful.
I love it. I think there's two things. I think that businesses pay a lot of money for like market research firms and folks to go and survey their audience and their customer pool, where AI can surface some of those commonly asked questions to you. It's your own research assistant who can go out and get real-time polling on what things are unanswered questions so that you know what to dive into. And then I think the next bit is for folks who are new to your business, who are ramping up, who are trying to learn the brand voice of your business, all the ins and outs of the knowledge, this can help them stay consistent with your message by giving them a quick cut and paste or recommended answers for them to jump in and be able to provide. So it gives that insight and it gives that information quickly accessible that somebody who's maybe a manual user can also use to understand what to write content about or what to actually send out to a prospect or a customer who has a question. So big fan of that AI update. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. And I would just add one last part on this too, is like, if you get a lot of, I don't want to say spam, but if you get a lot of submissions or people coming to your website that are job seekers or people trying to sell you something or just people that are not like your primary audience, you can also like these types of short answers can be used for those as well. Because some people come to your live chat and they say, "Hey, where can I apply for a job?" And it's like, or where can I learn about your partnership program? And if that's not clearly spelled out, then you have like more tickets and more things you have to deal with. So those can also be used as short answers. I love those types of like use cases that are like I don't know, if not annoying, but just like things that come up throughout the day that you have to deal with. So.
Totally. Cost of code switching. You're like task switching. Your mind is like, oh, I'm on this thing. And then you got to jump over to answer something that isn't actually impactful for the business. It burns not only the minutes that it takes, but also the time to get ramped back up. So I think letting the AI take over is going to be more productive for all the folks on the front lines.
Yep. We've been doing it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, tell us about custom assistants, how they can read CRM data. What should we know about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So custom assistants and how that is different from custom agents, I think is an important thing for us to call out from the start. So you can navigate in your portal to custom assistants in the starburst in the top icon. I'm actually going to grab a demo video right now because I think that this is going to be worth showing. Agents are pre-built tools by HubSpot that take on more complex tasks that may have external implications. And I think the assistant, it can be seen of as that. It's your assistant. It used to be called Copilot, and it's your chat GPT inside of HubSpot. Now, this is powered by OpenAI, and we have zero data retention policy with OpenAI. And so you can trust that this is information you're going to ask it and it's going to stay in the tool. But what was important and what's important about this update is in the past, these assistants worked off of all the knowledge that you trained it on. So if you had a knowledge-based article, or if you had standard operating procedures internally, that's what it would be trained on. Now, this assistant pane is record aware, and it can know what record you're on. It can also grab information from across your portal. And that changes the game because this is the big differentiator between what we're doing inside of HubSpot with custom assistants and externally, if you're thinking about a custom GPT you've built or custom gems, those are external tools, but they don't have direct connectivity to your CRM. So they're not CRM aware. So this is the big differentiator for HubSpot's assistant, why it's valuable inside of HubSpot, and also give you some ideas here on what you can do with it. So custom assistants have the ability to, if you have more than one, you would have a drop down here. So this is just Breeze Assistant. This is general use, but then you can add more specific use. So I can give you a quick look at a couple examples of that kind of specific use case. A couple that are pre-built by HubSpot are the brand assistant, the internal FAQ assistant. This is probably the easiest to conceptualize. It's your internal knowledge base. What are your discounting rules your sales rep can ask? I think we've talked about this on past calls about how internally at HubSpot, we have our sales rules of engagement, sales GPT, sales coach, ICP assistant. But what I think is also worth calling out is that there are a couple other areas where this could be really valuable now that we have this read your CRM record info. A couple examples that have been called out to me that I'd like to share with you. Could have a deal desk assistant that recommends discounts based on the deal data. So deal desk, drop into that drop down, ask it, hey, I'm looking at this. How can I maximize our profitability? Or this customer is budget conscious. What are the terms that I could apply that would help? And so it can look and see the communication on your call transcripts. It can see the communication in your emails and read what the sentiment is of the prospect who's been talking to you. It can read what line items are on that quote. It has all of that information. So then it can then reference maybe your internal knowledge or deals that closed that were similar. And you can build an assistant that your reps will be able to ask. It's like the smartest sales manager in the room to come in and strategize with them. I really like that. That's a very natural evolution of read your CRM records and that ability. Now, the next is maybe a customer success coach that suggests a next step for the ability to reduce churn or mitigate negative sentiment based on what has been collected and what's living inside of your CRM. And the last you could think of it as like a feedback organizer. This is someone on the product team who's building custom assistants, who's been getting feedback from folks. She built a custom assistant based on the feedback organizer. So it could gather information to say, hey, what do people like? What do people dislike? What are common challenges? And it could do that across multiple contacts and be able to give a quick summary of a particular piece of the data that's on that record, right? It's not the entire record. It's not all of the communication. It's just searching for particular sentiment around feedback. So I really like those examples. Wanted to call those out. Those aren't pre-built, but give you some ideas of what you could build with custom assistants now that is aware of your CRM record data.
Yeah, I like those examples. And I give one more last example, something that we use internally is we have like a customer example finder assistant where essentially we put a database of like different types of clients and industries that we've worked together. So anytime we're talking with a new prospect, they ask, hey, do you work in manufacturing, for example? And we can go back and look at all the types of clients and projects and different things that we've worked in the past and be able to aggregate some of the insights that we've had there so we can add more value to our clients. And what you could do with this new addition is essentially if you're on a company record, it's as easy as saying, hey, have we worked with a client like this before? And then from there, it can go in and you can look at the CRM record, look at the industry, types of conversations that you've had, and then be able to go in and provide that. So really like that, all those different use cases. And that is it. Brian, is there anything else that you wanted to share on that one? You good?
No, I love it. I love your example. That's a really good one.
Yeah, everyone should have a client example database. All right, so closing today, we're going to send out a couple of perks. If you want just an audit of your HubSpot, we would love to just look through that, help you identify some quick wins, some areas that you can get more out of your investment inside of HubSpot. So please do reach out to the team on that. Sign up for a free HubSpot audit. Next, we're going to send you one of our first episodes of SmartTake Zoom In, which is our new series. We'll have much more information about that coming, but what we show you there is how to set up your brand identity inside of HubSpot. So that's next. And then lastly, if you were able to attend SmartTake last month, we launched a new tool, which is our Data Agent Idea Generator, which will show you all the ways that you can get creative with HubSpot's new data hub, data agent, and ways that you can enrich your CRM with more actionable data that's really personalized to your brand. And that's it for this month. Thank you so much for coming. We hope to see you for the last episode, 2025, where we'll walk through all of the updates that are coming into your HubSpot portal. Thank you so much, and please give us feedback. We hope to hear how we can make these episodes better for you. If you like some of the demo experiences versus us kind of talking about the features, we'd love to hear more from you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, Paul. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching.